And we are live. Welcome back to a gaming conversation with friends. Shout outs to the people on Apple Podcasts because people love us on Apple Podcasts. Where we get the highest amount of traction, downloads, and overall content consumption on podcast platforms. If you're on Apple, please leave us a like, share, and subscribe, or any platform. But for podcast platforms, Apple seems to favour our podcast for some reason. Thank you for listening on podcasts. This week we return with Removable Sanity. How are you doing?
Hello. Yes, doing very well. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's nice to be back. Nice to get back into it and see what the world has on offer in the land of video games and whatnot.
Most definitely. And VJ, have you got yourself a nice cup of tea ready?
I might grab one while Removable's talking because it always gives me about 10 minutes to lounge.
I try my best. Yeah, just make sure you don't put a little bit of sake inside it. Slip it a little bit.
But overall, it's nice to be invited back onto your show. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with, how can I put it? Video game royalty. There you go. That'll do.
Video game royalty. So you're on about.
Well,
it's friendly pest. It's friendly pest here then. Oh, come on in, Stubsy Bubsy. What have you been playing?
Well, more. What I've been watching since I last spoke. I watched
Ghostbusters, Star Wars,
of the
Gears anime.
No, hang on.
Studio Ghibli.
Terrible. I'm terrible at saying the guy's name. Saki-san. Saki. How do you say it? I'm terrible at saying these names. Who made Ponyo? The documentary, VJ, that you recommended me.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki. There you go.
Yeah, just say Miyazaki-san.
Miyazaki-san. Yeah. I'm terrible at that. Miyazaki-san. There we go. Miyazaki-san. I watched some more of it. Not much more, but I've watched Ponyo. I'll tell you what, it's a bloody incredible film. Because obviously I watched bits of it from within the documentary.
But the full context was seen, you saw it in the film.
Mate, I'll be honest. And I didn't, because obviously I've only just got to episode 2, I didn't realise that Ponyo was actually hand-drawn. And that is incredible. It's actually fully, I could obviously tell with the art style, but it's really good. How they made me love
what did you think it?
A man.
How did you think it was created?
I don't actually. Obviously, I've seen the documentary.
Probably thought it was CGI with a blend of overlays. They can.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was actually each scene was each single clip, as in
I think if I'm correct on this feature, I think majority of anime still in Japan is still handcrafted. There is AI technical tweaks and overlays they do sometimes use, but I think if I'm correct, not AI, I mean computer CGI. But I think majority of still is gone down the hand drawn route, isn't it? I am correct in that, Vijay?
I think I
majority. I'm not saying all. Majority.
No, the way I would answer it is that for Hayao Miyazaki, who's been in film since the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, so he employs the most traditional methods, and I think that some of the animation sequences that you see in video games, in some anime. I don't watch enough anime, but what I would say is that they do tend to blend some traditional methods with some software-based methods, if that makes sense. But
I would say, looking at, it was the life of an anime artist. I think you're the friend that you normally send me to. If you watch that, they generally do majority of them on it's like drawing boards, but computer tools, but they do still use hand drawn techniques, as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It's just, as you rightly said, there is some creeping in now with the software enhancement.
So for example, I would say certain visual effects.
Yes.
But yeah, everything. I mean, even video games are removable. Even movies, still to this date, you either have storyboards, which obviously is what Miyazaki-san begins with. But traditionally, you have a script, and then storyboards are created, because it's if you go straight from, say, creating a script into production, there's no way that the team can understand what's actually occurring, how to break those scenes. So storyboards,
the shot, the screen, the emotion that's probably also worked up in that shot as well, isn't it? It's all
all of the text, like this is the shot, this is how the camera pans, these are the lines that are going to be spoken.
I have seen some movie scripts, and it is like, pan shot towards character. It's like, how does that work? And it's not until you see the storyboard. It could be a 45-degree angle swoop down behind the back of the character's head and then spins round into front of them, and that will be that is a pan. So until you see the storyboard, you don't see that transition, that journey of which the director wishes to take.
It's a language in itself. I don't know if you guys, I'm assuming, so forgive me if I've got this wrong, but you've both watched the Matrix film?
Yes.
So, so that movie, Warner Brothers was hesitant to green light. They loved the script and so on and so forth, but some of the descriptions within the movie, they were concerned that the technology didn't exist in terms of camera systems, etc., and so on and so forth, in terms of how these scenes were to be produced. So I don't know if you know, but there might be something on YouTube. I'm not sure. It might be in the DVD of the collector's edition or whatever. But basically, they had to hire a storyboard artist and basically storyboard out the complete movie.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah, you're right. It is actually, I think it's in the collector's edition. So you actually see some of the storyboard ideas as well.
And it's a way to communicate, whether it's a video game, whether it's a short sequence, whether it's an animated movie, or whether it's a full-on scale Hollywood production. Storyboards are part and part of the process. And for me, even in video games, I know it may sound strange, probably because I've been brought up on comic books, is probably the most exciting, or one of the most exciting parts of pre-production.
Yeah, because it's a visual reference
of what it is, the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you finally get to see it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've been, I was very lucky to buy some of the original cells of Akira. And whilst everyone was snatching all the explosions up, I went solely for the characters themselves. And just some of those cells themselves, the detail in those cells, those clear cells, it is amazing. And how they flick backwards and forwards and they utilized it is just pure artistry,
Sean Stubbs, I told you he was a secret millionaire. You never believed me, did you?
Do you know? Not at all. Not at all. This was back in the 80s and 90s, and it was what was it? It was the shop itself was. It was basically our version of GameStop. It wasn't Game back then. It was the 80s version of it. Was, I don't know. It may have been Blockbuster. Could have been Blockbuster. They basically had just rolled up cells in a bin for people to take. Don't know why. It must have been a promotion or something for the major release of Akira on VHS at the time or something, and they were just sitting there. And people said, "Look, you can have them for a couple of quid." So everyone had literally snatched all the explosion scenes, and I just saw all the actual human beings that were there, and I was like, grabbing them, because I can guarantee you now these will probably be worth something later on. Even then, I knew Akira was going to be a popular anime, because it was one of the first animes that broke through into the Western world.
Captured everyone's imagination, I think.
It did, yeah. It absolutely captured everyone's imagination. And
but you got to forgive Stubbs though, because he was down the local having a pint.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably, yeah. It was an amazing time back in the early 80s. let's just say it was.
Hang on, early 80s.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. How old are you?
I'm not telling you.
Hang on, this means you're older than me.
Probably.
No, you're not older than me.
It was the early 80s. Or was it the early 90s?
I was born in 1984.
1881? Jesus Christ, Stubbs. I mean, Jesus.
1984.
Yes, I'm older than you.
You're bloody old. I never knew this. This is news to me.
Look, I'm not going to say what.
I thought you were about the same age as me.
Well, let's just say.
Don't look at it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it was probably not early 80s, probably late 80s maybe, and it's hard to explain what it felt like seeing Eastern comics over in the Western market, and how completely different they were in terms of culture, representation, understanding history. It blew my mind when reading some of the stories out there. And we would get I remember a fellow school person of mine, basically, I saw him reading them a comic from Japan. And the detail, and one thing I liked was also the violence as well, was just immensely compelling. And so that's what drew me into it, was the comics that were started to release over here for the Western audiences. And then obviously the films came out, and that was another cultural shock. And literally from that moment on, I've been a fan of all Eastern culture in some shape or form, but it's hard to explain that to people who probably today's generation, just this part and parcel of the culture we're in right now. Back then, that never existed. And so to see it firsthand really blew you away. It was just like, what is this? And that kind of tied in slightly with the video game market as well. Nintendo, all that was kind of slowly making its way across into the Western world. And I tell you what, I wish it was a sight to behold. Like you said, you saw Sega arcade, the big Sega arcades that was in Japan.
Yeah,
unfortunately now gone. Its heyday was also I think there was one in the UK as well, wasn't there?
I don't know. What's that? Probably in London.
I think
I think it was in London. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only place where you could possibly sit down and play Virtua Racing, play Daytona, play Power Drift, the sit-down version, play Virtua Cop, House of the Dead, all of those games, Jurassic Park, Afterburner, the list goes on, was, I believe, was in the Trocadero in Piccadilly Circus.
That's it. That was it. Yes, the Trocadero. Jesus. Because you'd walk up the steps, you went through that big circle with blue lights in it.
Up the escalators, yep.
That's right, yeah. It was an amazing time, honestly. It's a shame. They don't do shops like that now. They don't go in where they wow you with... It's an experience actually entering the shop.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You went through a little tunnel, and then you'd go up this escalator, and it would just like, welcome to Sega World. And it was like, Jesus.
It was almost like you were entering a nightclub, on acid.
I'm not joking. It was like that. And for us kids, it was like, Jesus, this is amazing. Yeah. It was and it's a shame that we don't have that sort of level of, I would say, enthusiasm in today's modern modern buildings. I mean, you can see that from how modernized people are now. It's very much square, different light palettes and colors and stuff like that. There isn't really bright, extravagant, outrageous architecture these days. It's very reduced and minimalistic, I would classify it. And it's a shame. And the same thing for internally, interiors aren't as exploratory as they used to be. You go into some places in London and it was just like it's entering a different world. I don't think you get many places like that anymore, unfortunately. I think Camden Market is probably the closest still. Some of the shops there are still amazing journeys to go into. But I think even they're on their way out now, unfortunately.
We really don't want to know about your sordid visits to Ann Summers.
Trust me, if you go down to Camden Square, there's stuff in there that'll make even the most kinky of us blush.
Mr. Tushy.
I think so. Yeah, there was.
We should have had an expert on the show.
I remember going to one shop and it was a blend of bondage and electronic attached sci-fi equipment. So, for instance, people would have thongs that illuminated and lit up, and would graphic words would fly across them. It was an experience. I tell you, walking into it, it was like, wow, this is a bit weird.
Are you sure you're not describing Masuko's basement?
Possibly. You know what Masuko's like.
But, I feel we're being a bit rude because we did ask Lord Stubbs a question. It would be remiss of me if we didn't go back to letting him answer. I feel really bad.
Does he remember what it was?
Sorry, Mr. Stubbs. Yeah, he was talking about his CG / hand-drawn experience of Ponyo, which he actually thought was live action.
Well, no, that's not entirely true. Welcome to Masuko and Pinky of Legend. Thanks for popping in. But no, Ponyo is... I've never watched. How would you say?
Take your time.
Because obviously, when you look at it, you think, "Oh, this is
kids' film."
It's kids, yeah, but it's not. It's very impactful, and like the moment.
Well, put it this way, I think it blends both worlds. It can be good for kids, but there is a much more adult theme there, which only adults will probably understand.
There is, but it's weird how like anime like that. It obviously there's parts in it where it builds up really good. It's like brings a tear to your eye. It's like, how the hell did that do that? He's a master. It was amazing. I mean, the bit.
You wait until you watch Hell's Moving Castle.
I don't want to spoil it for me.
No. Just I mean, if you haven't watched Miyazaki films and people are listening to this, then I've got no sympathy for you. So just say whatever you want.
I do, because you know what? I'm jealous. I'm jealous. If you haven't watched Miyazaki films, I'm jealous, because I tell you what, even though I watch them on a regular basis, that very first time is a unique experience. So I do have sympathy for you. I would wish to go back there and start watching it.
This is why often I keep mentioning that I'm really looking forward to How Do You Live, or AKA The Boy and the Heron. Anyway, sorry, continue, Mr. Stubbs.
Well, where obviously Ponyo turns into human as such. And you know where the waves start coming and they start running and running. But then you notice the little boy's house is protected. He seems protected. The waves are leaving it alone. And when he comes running up and absolutely cuddles him but squeezes him, that bit was amazing. And when I was watching the documentary, he's seen the drawing for it. Yeah, this ain't right. And he did it himself. You've got to really emphasize it. You've got to go, it's got to be a proper squeeze. It has. But he said it is hard to visualize how to draw it, but he knew. But
he's a master.
And then he's also took inspiration from his mother, which I don't know if he knew. You know one of the old grannies called Toka? That's inspiration of what his mother was like.
Well, as VJ said, a lot of his stories are based on family members and people he's known throughout his life. He's used that as a basis.
But honestly, I mean, I've never that that film there is an experience. To be fair, I think I want to watch it again. It was that good.
I would
really
say
was.
go for it, but I would also this is just one of many unique experiences that you've got to go through.
Away, and
Spirited Away, yes.
When I watched that, I was like, "Don't eat that food." I was screaming at TV. There's something wrong. Do not eat that food. I knew something was going to go wrong. I was like, "Oh no!"
It does. It engages you on a very good and primal level. He does, yeah.
I knew something was up because he does.
Honestly, it's. This is what we're trying to explain to you: is that each film almost brings its own fans with it, because each film is almost a unique biodome of his thoughts of the story. I haven't found anyone who's been able to consistently create brand new fans on the back of every new film, and he has been able to do that. You may not like one of them, but I can guarantee you I like a hell of a lot of the other ones.
I intend to watch more.
And there will always be one will be your favourite.
The one thing I didn't realise, though, I've not got through. I'm part way through the episode 2 of his documentary. Is he was basically he tried to pitch studios, film directors, etc. And he was told, he listed off the films, and he was told that outdated, won't work. No one's going to want to watch this, and they all thought it was one director to give him a chance.
Washed up.
Yeah, basically, one director gave him a chance, and it ballooned his career. And all the films they said weren't going to do well were absolute hits. But he's obviously he's what you call a luminary, VJ, isn't he? He seems that way because he's never happy with his own work.
I think,
and it must be hard to be his son as well, because he wasn't happy with his son making a film, was he? In the documentary, in the first episode, you see him, and it must be very hard to live up to someone like that and try and be in the same world as him when your dad's basically the god of anime. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was.
I don't think he believes he's the god of anime, or he believes it as a. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know what you're saying. Artists and content creators in general will always be their own worst critical enemy. No one will ever criticize your work as much as you will, because you've bled, you've pushed through it, you've gone through it, you've looked through it, you've tweaked it, you've gone backwards and forwards, you've agonized over it on numerous occasions. No one will be the harshest critic than probably what you will be. And he's even worse than that, I think.
I don't know if you've watched the documentary, but there's 3 things, and Stubbs might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here. There's 3 things that affect Miyazaki-san when he makes a movie. One is fear, which he speaks openly. Second is doubt. And the third one is embarrassing himself.
Yeah, he does. He was getting massaged on the floor. He was starting to doubt himself. He was getting a massage because he was getting so stressed and doubting himself that he was actually he got someone in to give him a massage.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. But I just wanted to say this to you: as much as you think that he didn't want his son to make it, what he was doing, in my opinion, and this is why I had a lot of sympathy for his son, because when you watch the rest of the documentaries and you see it from the son's perspective, Miyazaki reflects his fears, his own fears, and reflects them upon himself from the viewpoint of his son. And that's the issue. That's how I see it. You may see it differently from me. That's why I apologize, because you need to watch the rest of them. Yeah. And if Removable watches them as well, maybe we'll come with it from 3 different angles. But that was my takeaway, is that and parents always want. And I'm not a parent.
The parents always want, they always want the best. They want their children to do better than what they are.
Yeah, they don't want their children to repeat the mistakes that they've made throughout their life, and they want them to be better, but inadvertently you don't realize the damage that you do to your children by confining them to a specific way that you think is better for them, because it didn't work the way you tried it for yourself. And that is the issue that Miyazaki has on his son. But he wants his son to do really great, and at the same time he says to the producer, look, if he can't make it, I'm there to back him up. So that's his
exactly. Yeah.
I'm really sorry, but that's just my. No,
I think I agree. I think the biggest thing with that is that, ironically, his fear for his son will be the hindrance, because just like he needed time to go through and make mistakes, his son also needs to go through and make some mistakes.
Miyazaki went through a lot of pain, and he doesn't want that pain to go. He doesn't want his son to go through that same.
No, and that's the problem, I think. And this is the thing. And this is just being a good parent. It's just that mistakes inform you and guide you to a better place than no mistakes at all. And this is why he's so good at what he does, because of the life he's lived. It's like, but basically they say about comedians laugh and joke about the pain they've had through their lives. They use it to build upon the best jokes. Some of the best comedians are the most depressed. Look at Robin Williams, for instance. He, they suffer with the biggest traumas, the biggest doubts, the biggest problems and issues, and because of that, and because of the way they use that to create their content, comes out the most realistic aspects. It's the pain is part of the creation. But as a parent, you still don't want that to happen to your children. So it's a catch-22. He wants him to succeed, but at the same time, he probably it's realizing that the pain is what sometimes makes the content you do. It helps.
Sorry, Ruben, I know you may not have. The funny thing here, right, is that, and Sean, Mr. Stubzcast might be able to speak on it because I haven't watched it for quite a while. Is that his son is actually, forgive me if I'm wrong, but he's an architect. He went to university, got a degree in architecture, and became an architecture. And it was the producer that had been with Miyazaki's son for about 30, 40 or whatever since the beginning that wanted to create the Ghibli Museum. So he went to his Miyazaki's son and said, listen, will you create, help us design and build this, do the architectural planning for this building and the location seeking and all that. So he did all of that. And it was actually the producer that said to him, can you come and make a short for us? We want you to try and make a short. And that's how he got into it. And then he went on to say to him, look, can you go on to could you think you can go on and write script, storyboard, and direct a movie? So it wasn't even as if his son is guilty of saying, no, I want to be like my dad and make a movie.
No, and that's the thing. But I think,
against Miyazaki's, against his father's will, basically. But it was the producer that actually enabled him to go in and go.
Well, I think I wouldn't say his guilt. But I think what his father did, he shielded his son from that path because he's gone down that path and the pain that he went down that path. So of course, knowing the pain of any industry is, if you're in an industry and it's taking you a hell of a lot of pain and what's the thing of it, loss to get where you are, you don't want your youngsters probably going down the same path. You want them to probably go to a different path that's better for them. And so I suspect he probably went into the architectural business because the architectural business still is drawing, still is the artistic aspect to it. But it is very different from anime and movies. But I suspect maybe his son was probably interested in that, but his father pretty much was like, I'll steer you away from this because of the experiences he's had. And so, as you rightly said, when he was not dragged into it, when he was given the opportunity to showcase off his skills, he probably then realized that because when you think about it, he's probably watched his father do thousands and thousands of hours. He's probably had the best teacher without even realizing it.
See, what I gleaned, what I got from what I've watched, whether I'm right or wrong, VJ, I got the impression that, and I think he mentioned it, that his dad really wasn't around when he was a kid because he was working.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, he was an absent father.
Yeah, and it's all emotional, obviously. And it's all that's
Oh
part
yeah,
of the pain.
yeah.
Because he knows.
You're spot on. You're spot on. I took away the same thing, and basically, you know,
I think Miyazaki does blame himself a little bit for that as well.
It is, but it's because the creation of that movie overtakes his life. Once he gets into full production, it's 6 days a week, and it's like 18-hour days, and all he does is goes from his private study to the office, back to his private study, and basically he neglected his son, and he admits that. But the thing is that the producer knows Miyazaki, knows his son since he grew up from a little boy, so they've been quite close-knit family, and you see videos of his young son drawing away, so he had the ability all along, right? But it was just never known by Miyazaki by himself, but because of his own fears. We're not criticizing. If anyone's listening, we're not criticizing or critiquing or judging. We're just observing what occurred in terms of parenting and Miyazaki's own fears. But we all have those, right? It's not we're not singling him out. Does that make sense? Because judging someone and the life decisions that they make, whether it's success or failure, no one should do that, right? But it was just an observation, and what we can take away from that and change our own lives accordingly, so we don't make the same mistakes. But inadvertently, we probably all will when we will continue to do so for generations going forward. I think
to be honest with you, it took me a while, even with the children I've got now, to say, look, they need to face their own demons. They need to face their own failures.
Yeah.
And I've still got very young children. And even so, because it was like, it took me a while to realize even with me in the industry I was in, the pain you go through helps guide you to a better place in the end. You become stronger because of it. And this is a problem which I think future generations are going to probably realize pretty quickly, is that struggle, failure, and pain are better teachers than awards. If you're forever being told you're great, you'll never really grow into something amazing. It truly takes some, you need to fall before you can really climb higher, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't.
No, you're right, because I don't know if you remember this game, Snakes and Ladders.
Mm-hmm.
So you can climb ladders, and you will slip down snakes.
And that is that's the mantra of the game. No matter how many times you fall down the slide, keep going, and eventually you'll get to the end.
Snakes and Ladders.
Yeah,
I think anyone can understand that, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's actually a beloved game, because it is one of the very first teachings of how to appreciate that things don't always go the way you want it. It is like you think you're up, and then you're straight back down again. Now you can quit there, or you can continue and try and get past it. Good guide for life.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Mr. Stubbs. Sorry, please continue about Ponyo, because it's just has lots of Ponyo has lots of poignant points that we can discuss.
Yeah, I mean, Ponyo. Obviously, probably the version I watch is obviously quite heavily dubbed in English. It is, obviously. I watched the Netflix version. It wasn't the original version, I imagine. It looks like it's been dubbed into English, obviously. But
as long as it wasn't French and you could understand it, then we're all good.
But I just really enjoyed it. And then obviously the end happened, and I thought it was just a really good. Ponyo is it deserves all the awards and critical acclaim it got. It did. It's yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it again. See if I can get the family to watch it all together. See, because my boy liked it, and he watched from the bit where it gets climactic, where he breaches and gets out, and he goes running, gets all his powers and stuff, and I think it's cool when his mum turns up. Was she like a sea? Is she like a sea god or something?
She's a goddess of the sea. Yes.
I thought it was so cool because all the boats were stuck, and she basically powered up the engines as she rolled past. So I thought
there is. Yeah, it's the same with every song. Every film he does, there is a pertinent story and reasoning for everything he's put out.
Yeah.
And that's why I think me and PJ are just so intrigued at what is he going to be. What's this new story that's going to come out of it?
Yeah,
is he? He's not still making stuff, is he? He's 82 now, isn't he?
No. He's just released a film.
He's just released new
last month.
Okay.
Yeah. With,
basically, he's going to keep making them until he.
With no trailers, no marketing, just a poster, and it's only.
He won't need it.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is true. No, he won't need it at all.
I think.
To be fair though, what I've just said there, he will keep making until he dies, because he actually says in the documentary that it's a bit morbid, but he actually says that, I don't know the exact quote, but he says something along the lines of, if he can't entertain, there's no point in living. It's something like that. He says a lot. So he enjoys entertaining people.
Well, it's the same thing for Tolkien,
and he's happy as long as he's entertaining people. He's happy.
Same thing. It was H.R. Tolkien. Tolkien was exactly the same thing. That's why he did the historical backgrounds of all the worlds he created. He had to keep going. It became not an obsession, became a lifestyle. And the same thing with Miyazaki. It's who he is. It's part of the ethos now, and so. I don't think, as you rightly said, he won't stop now because it's part and parcel of who he is. I think the biggest worry I think I'll ever hear is that he'll pass away in the middle of someone and will never get finished. That won't be his last.
He must be
unless the source's son can probably help out a little bit, maybe. But it's part and parcel of who he is, his ethos, his creative juices. It'll never stop.
If he's still using hand-drawn, he must be struggling, because it was mentioned in the documentary. Obviously, he's a lot. At the time of the documentary, he was obviously a lot older, not as young as he used to be. And with the drawing skills, he actually mentioned he was losing power in his hands, obviously, because he's getting older. So does he still do hand-drawn, or does everyone else draw for him? Does he still do it in his 80s? Hand-drawn style? Was his new film...
Yeah, I think he does the storyboards, if I'm correct.
He does all the storyboards.
Yeah, and I think they do. I think he has enough of what I would classify a team round him that he trusts to get the style right. I think he has. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he does do still some individual cells, but as far as I'm aware of, I think I think he has a team now that he fully trust to get exactly.
Yeah. So two things. One is Stubbs. I have to applaud you, Lord Stubbs of Rutland, the fact that you've actually watched the documentary and you've retained so much information.
And I've only watched one episode plus.
I know,
half
but
second.
I don't know if Removable will agree, but the level of detail that you're recalling, I think it must have made a severe impression on you.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is quite impressive. And secondly, just to answer Removable's question, so he basically, one of the most impressive things about him is that before any script is crafted or written, he creates all the storyboards for the movies, and then those storyboards are extrapolated into scenes and so on and so forth. But obviously, before they're not completely structured into complete scenes and colored in and everything. They are just enlarged, right, and more frames in the sequence so that he can see how his animation's playing out. And then what he will do, and you've probably seen this, is where he takes a pencil and he just edits certain lines. And like you was talking about Ponyo when she squeezes the boy, and
Yes.
and the cell that you see, or the frame that you see, it's still all just pencil, but a larger frame, just showing 2 or 3 frames of how the sequence is going to go. So you'll have keyframes, right, the start and the end, and maybe one in between before all the other frames are built in.
Yeah.
And so the start and the end sequence of that shot. So basically what he was saying, look, this does look so static. So he'll draw over the original and then hand that back to the illustrator as in terms of an edit, and then they'll go away and do it. And where the difficulty lies is that when they can't capture all of the frames that he's seeing within his mind, and then they go back and forth until they get it right. So one of the things that surprised me, just this is to your point, Removable, is that the team that he trusts is that typically, from what I took away from the documentary, it's a fantastic documentary. If you I know you're a busy man, but if you do get time to do watch it, I don't know it's going to be up there much longer because it expires.
It's up until 2026.
Yeah, but Removable probably got games to reviews till about 2039. But
Yeah.
the point being, though, is that sorry, what was my train of thought? So he'll edit the frames, give them back, and then they'll come back to him, and if he doesn't like it, he'll bin it. But the difficulty is that they can't always. What he does is, after a movie's created, he'll disband the team completely, and so those people obviously join him for very little salary and then go off to other studios. So it takes him time to then up to 18 months to figure out what his next movie is going to be. Then he'll come up with an ideal image, right? That's the platform for the whole of the next movie, right? And I think Ponyo, they show you that image in Ponyo, right, that he creates for the whole of the story, just one image that depicts the whole movie. You've seen it, haven't you, Mr. Stubbs? And then they reassemble the team. But I think just to put it into just a really fundamentally common term, he's just got the pull, shall we say, in terms of gathering the top talent that want to have on their lifetime resume that they worked on a Ghibli movie, whether it's one, which is probably the most that anyone can take, because every time there's a new movie, other than his co-producer or his exec producer, everybody seems like a completely different bunch of people. But
I think when you're working for such a creator,
what that tends to tell you is that there's no shortage of an abundance of talent, but is that talent able to
withstand
work of his vision?
Miyazaki's vision, exactly.
Because he depicts 2 personalities. One is of someone who cares deeply for nature, still someone who looks to the war and the tragedies in terms of how that evokes and how he expresses his pain, his concern, and his imagination in terms of his movies. And then you've got the director that says to his staff, listen, look, if you can't get it right, you might as well leave on the next go. So you've got those 2 really contrasting personalities. It's quite fascinating.
When you're working with someone of that caliber, it's the best way is frustrating, because you don't have many chances to work with someone of that caliber, and so if you don't, you're not going to hang around much longer. And so, but also at the same time, those creative geniuses take a toll on people who don't understand them. Just generally, they take a toll on those who don't understand them. And so it's hard for a lot of people to retain staff because of the creative way he works around it. But it is because of it is worth so much in terms of your CV. A lot of people are willing to go through that process, that pain of trying to get it right, so they, as you said, will have it on their CV that they've worked on a Studio Ghibli film. And it's not saying that he's difficult. He probably is very difficult, but he's difficult because of a certain reason. It's the way he does his films, and that's the way he's learned how to get the very best out of himself. The trouble is that can be a little bit toxic for everybody else. It's the catch-22 of working with a creative genius in some cases. They're not. Stanley Kubrick, I think, was an absolute nightmare to work for, but loads of people wanted to work for him.
Yeah, no, because even if you fail, we were talking about failure earlier, removable, the level of education that you would probably attain, maybe not at the time, but that will come to you, the experience that you gain from there, that will serve you well over the years that will follow,
Exactly.
precede your own career, will be of incredible value. That the issue there is that Miyazaki can already see the film flowing through his mind, right, in terms of how the sequence should run, right? But in terms of, and I think he had this issue with Wind Rises, right? He wanted the Zero plane to fly in a specific way because it wanted to depict a certain emotion, not that fact that it was a construct of war and all it was used for destruction. He wanted to perform and fly in a certain way. He didn't want to draw it. He explained it, and the artists were hitting a brick wall because they couldn't take his words and descriptions. And they said openly, right, that in terms of, like, how do we take that and give him what he wants when we're not quite grasping what it is in terms of how he wants it to flow, even without a storyboard for this specific sequence. And that's why I often say to you, on this show is that, when I refer to him, I said that the previous documentary, The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness, is so apt for people of that mercurial nature, shall we say.
Indeed,
In terms of the environment that they end up creating, right?
It's not easy, but as you said, at the end of it, it's beneficial. It's everything has to be a sacrifice. Yeah,
and I just wanted to say, someone. I mean, I don't want to sort of bring the tone down or anything, but someone mentioned in our timeline that they didn't like the Howl's Moving Castle. They liked the movie, but they didn't like the part with the rapey soldier. I can't remember so I apologize if I didn't get that quite right. But one thing, if you do watch documentaries and you listen to him and you watch his movies, the question you have to ask yourself is that, do you think or do you believe that Miyazaki-san produces a single storyboard or approves a single animation sequence on a whim or
there is always a reason for why that scene is there. Yeah, exactly. There is a reason. There is some of the thing that makes his film so good is it doesn't shy away from some of the more darker themes.
Yeah,
and it's not that he's glorifying it.
No.
He's showing you a mirror. And sometimes that mirror is uncomfortable, but there's a reason to it. It's got you to an emotional state which he knows you will go down, so that what comes after that will be that journey. He's putting you in an emotional journey, and he's very good at setting that emotional standard.
People have a preconceived idea that these movies animated, they must be for children. The point I'm just trying to make, so that you can kind of get to where I am, and then you can take my point apart if you like. That's not a problem. But I just want to make sure that he doesn't create any sequence of animation, doesn't approve anything on a whim. He painstakingly searches his soul, for a better word, and sort of ensures that the concept that he is about to purvey, he's sort of giving it a lot of thought, and he'll approve it with all consideration before sanctioning or giving his consent or giving his blessing on any specific scene. The fundamental truth is that movie, just someone said rapey soldiers rape, better still, humans rape, right? And Miyazaki lived through World War II, right? And he still finds it hard to come to terms with Japan's involvement in the war, right? Alone that the fact that they took part in it. But let's not forget, the Allied forces post the climax of the 1939-1945 war conflict occupied Japan and other nations, and there isn't a lack of evidence that points to the human behavior that went on there to say that they didn't commit lots and lots of
atrocities. There was atrocities that were done. Yeah,
I don't know how. I'm trying to put it politically correct, but I can't. But so soldiers rape, for all intents and purposes, humans who wield power and authority over others, especially defenseless women,
will abuse it.
Especially with a show of force. I mean, other blokes with them and with weapons in tow. He faces his own hardest truth, as you've just said. Holding up a mirror, right, to show you the worst in humanity, right? And because at the end of the day, we are affronted by it, because first of all, it's supposed to be a kids movie with animations, apparently, right? we all live over here based on, again, versus what he's lived through. Even we're older at our age, we've lived relatively protected, have relatively protected daily lives, right? But that was all taken away from them, right? And I mean, I don't even know, but even the Oppenheimer movie, right, is banned in Japan, right? I don't know if you're aware of that at all, but so it's not just about entertainment for him, right? It's about getting key messages out there as well in terms of what he saw, his viewpoint, and what I get offended by. And I didn't reply to whatever that was in the time. I'm sure it was innocent. Even though
no, I can understand I can understand the reason why they made it. But the question, I think, what they misunderstood was that, as I stated, he's put it in there to get you to an emotional state.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's put it in there because it's also factual and it has happened, and there is no shy of way of getting that point there. And when you tie it into the bigger context of that film, you understand why it's been placed in there, because he wants you to see the very worst of humanity at its worst, so that you can go through that journey and realize that actually you can forgive humanity, and you can see the beauty of humanity as well. So he's thrown in what could be classified as one of the worst horrendous things that human beings do to each other, so that you can then understand what the characters are going through. They're reminiscent of saving the humanity, and the journey they go through to actually why they've done that, and why they actually end up saying, no, through all of humanity's faults, we should still keep humanity along, and we still should go down that path. And as you said, it's that complexity that sometimes isn't grabbed. And I think it's not grabbed maybe the first time or second time. It takes a few times to watch it again and again to fully realize the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I guess my point is there is no mistakes, right? Miyazaki makes no mistakes, but I shouldn't get offended because it shouldn't really bother me, because there's nothing to do with me, right? Because fundamentally, what I'm saying, he makes no mistakes, but I don't like the fact that people just take a very sort of lazy intellectual approach to point out ridiculous and accusatory judgment
I've got
over what he's doing, right?
I don't know if I'm making a fair comparison. Welcome, Carlo. Thanks for popping in, mate. Welcome, Sergeant Sentinel. So obviously, it's covered real world things that have happened. Now, people may laugh, but in the UK, we've got a show called, I've watched from missus before. You may have heard of it. Removable.
What, EastEnders?
No, called The Midwife. And in it, they are factually and historically correct, and they will cover.
They've done some little slight dramatizations, but yes, some of the more heinous acts.
The writer has got stick just for covering it when she said, "I will cover said topics." And
so there was racism, there was sexism, there was quite some nasty elements, and the reason is that it's there to show humanity in its truest form, warts and all. And the thing with that film was that it was showing humanity warts and all, but it was also, at least the way I kind of realized and understood it, was that the ending of it, and I don't want to speak too much about it because I want Stubbs to go through it and see what he's feeling. The ending of it, it's the journey of the main character and the hatred he's seen and the stuff that he sees as well, because he does see that. It's like, why should I save humanity? And it's their root. Yeah, there is always something there. I think I would like to say I'm a bit more forgiving of people in terms of when they make those comments. It's just maybe because they haven't understood it. And I'll be honest, sometimes it does take a few viewings for you to fully understand the context of what's in there. There are still films I see today, or I watch back today, that I've watched, I don't know, probably 30 bloody times. And then all of a sudden something clicks, and I'm like, so that's what they're trying to mean. It is. Some films are.
They live.
They live for that very nature. Apocalypse Now. perfect example.
And this is not a joke, removable. This is not a joke. So there's no joke in what I'm about to say. So don't take it in a humorous fashion. Groundhog Day.
There is a reason for it.
If you watch that movie really carefully, you'll learn a lot.
I know exactly what you're going from. Yeah, I can see where you're going from there. Yeah.
Sorry, remember, just one more thing, right? See, I've been, because obviously when we talk on these podcasts, I do take away stuff and I do consider certain things, right? So I don't think, when we label things good and bad, I don't think I think it's like what you said. It's not good and bad. It's just the nature of what is the truth. And if you can start looking at the truth, you start seeing the truth of yourself, right, and the beings that we are and what we're capable of. That's all it is. I don't want to label it good and bad. It just is the transparency of it, right? If you're willing to look.
Yeah, I think it's, but remember, everyone's at different levels when it comes to viewing films and understanding context and stuff like that. So I give people a little bit of leeway when they say things that maybe you don't understand or you don't appreciate, you don't feel they're appreciating the film for its full context. Mostly is because
it's judging it with the lazy intellect.
Yeah, but I think I wouldn't say it's a lazy intellect. Maybe it's a naive intellect.
A brain bypass.
It's because as I said, I know. That's why it's giggled. I think sometimes it takes a couple of times or a couple of goes to see the film to fully understand the context of things, and not everyone's at the same level as say you or me or Stubbs or Masuku or different people. Everyone has a different level before we can fully captivate and fully understand the context of everything in some of these films. And so that person may have only seen it once, but they need to see it again. And maybe that's the best way of saying it. It's like, well, just view it again in the context, try and understand what he's trying to tell you, because I think you'll see it differently.
Yeah,
it's there, and that's
I just want to applaud Stubbs because he just seems to have since he's been watching those movies and the documentary. I don't know what you think, Rue, but I think
his grey matter has improved a little bit.
He's grown.
Is that what you're trying to tell him?
Yeah. I mean, he's tall enough, but I mean, he's grown significantly. I mean, I can't remember who said it. I think I mean Carl Jung, right? I know he's a bit of a anti-human misanthropist, but that's probably myself. That probably describes me, really. But it's I can't remember what he said. He said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." Something along those lines.
Yeah. I think you're right there. It's
paraphrasing.
It's paraphrased, but I think the essence is correct. I think. I just quickly spotted someone in the chat saying, who was it? It was GQ TV. Does removal sanity feel AI can save humanity?
Do you know how long that's going to take to discuss? Do you know?
2 seconds. 2 seconds, because I think it all depends on. It all depends on the laws they place on AI. And if you know Asimov's laws, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you allow an unfiltered AI, then it could be pretty not beneficial for humanity. If you filtered an AI with certain fundamental laws, those who know Asimov's laws, then I suspect it could be beneficial for humanity. It's the same thing with any new technology. You have to kind of believe, I know AI is very different, but you have to believe when people first saw the steam engine, they didn't trust it. They didn't think, they literally thought it was a death trap. They literally thought it was out to kill humanity.
Well, they obviously hadn't been on the Zeebrugge ferry.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what I'm saying? So I think for me, I'm here with cautious optimism, and that is in the bid that certain laws are implemented in the AI consciousness. if those laws can be implemented in, I think we could be moving forward quite rapidly into a new generation of human technological interface. If those laws aren't carefully positioned, or if we rush too quickly, we've got enough movies to see the end result. Let's just put it that way. The
thing is removable. The problem will always be is that it doesn't matter if it's AI or something else. All power breeds devils and dragons in people's hearts, and those are the people that are ultimately in control, and whoever's ultimately in charge or controlling it is going to dictate exactly what AI and any of this other technology is going to end up doing to people, whether you end up having a chip in your head and so on and so forth. But I don't know if I've got the wrong end of the stick of what he was saying, or whether he was just being sarcastic, or if I've understood your question. The thing with human beings that we all got wildly fluctuating emotions, right, depending on what we're discussing, and AI will never be able to feed that devil inside people, which is the desire for wealth and fame, and amongst other everything else that's out of reach, right, of the common man, right, and the problem that you're going to have is that with the power that's on display, and people are ascertaining that, well, if I have this power, I'll have pleasure, I'll have fame, and I'll have fulfillment that's supposed to ensue, right? Yet you can see that most people are devoid of what it is to go back to basics and discover the brilliance of, say, something like a simple life. And until we start educating people, or kids are educated like this from school, a level of school, elementary, or even at home, we're just on this path, right, which no one knows where it's going to lead. So it's really difficult to answer, right, whether this or that or the other is going to change our fortunes, because, as I say to you, devils and dragons are just bred in everybody's heart on a daily basis.
Well, I mean, the best way I can liken AI is social media, the internet. That's the next stage. We jumped. The moment we got into the internet, we jumped. We evolved. And it will be the same thing for when AI is. I think AI is already here, to be honest with you. I think true formed AI is very close from what I've been researching and understanding. I think the quantum computer, which has been said to be the birth of true unfiltered AI, once that happens, is almost here. I think at this stage, it will be another evolution in humanity's kind. When the internet was evolved, how much information was thrown into hands of billions. Again, it's going to be the same thing when it comes to AI. Maybe just not in our hands. That's what I said. I think we went in blindly with the internet, and I think we're going in blindly with AI. And it's a question of those who create it, those who move forward with it, those who evolve it. As long as those can have an understanding and a healthy respect for the power they wield, will be okay. It's the same. Ironically, it's the same thing with the Oppenheimer movie. He created something knowing full well the devastation it would cause, and he had a healthy respect for it.
AI.
Now, the question of whether it should have been created or which side it should have been given will rage for many a moon. But I think he had a healthy respect for what he was creating. I think that's the same thing we needed for AI as well. That's my take on it.
That's fair. I don't think AI is good in the slightest at all.
But that's because it's going to take your job, Stubbs, isn't it? I mean, you can't sit in your van all day.
No, I mean, to be honest,
just drinking a beer and watching.
AI will take most people's people's jobs
no.
that work on computers. They will take
No.
their jobs.
No.
They will.
No. No, it won't. Trust me. It won't.
Will.
It will. The irony, the biggest problem people, when they say it will take our jobs,
I think
it's working with systems.
Not
that
every
will
job,
no. Just generally, a majority of jobs. The problem with a lot of the systems when it comes to people, okay, human beings work within flawed systems. Right now, we have so many flawed systems within the working with computers arena. For AI to take over that, I mean, it would have to change so many fundamental systems for it to get to that point.
It won't take every job, but it will take jobs.
So the thing is, removable. What you see, removable. You're looking at it from. I understand where you're coming from, and I know that you always look to see what's the potential bright side. But what you have to understand is that for the majority of the people that live in this world, right, and they will hear the words or the acronym or whatever AI, right, and think anti-human, right, misanthropic, right, and because they don't understand it, and I get that side of it, but whatever it is that's coming, and it's just another tool to enslave people, and that's how people will look at it. And I guess the question you've got to ask yourself, we're already slaves, right, to dictatorial governments, right, even though we don't want to know, right, and the question that question still remains today, right, is a slave if he doesn't know he's enslaved, right? And you can answer that question for yourself, but there's still I mean, and so I understand where Mr. Stubbs, Lord Stubbs, is coming from, and I understand where you're coming from. But
it will be manipulated no matter what you do. It will be manipulated.
Yeah, of course, because it's the people that wield it, and most people that wield it will have a devil in their heart. And
this is where the thing is where I get a slight difference. True AI will not be wielded, and this is the difference. I in my head has ever play into it. True AI is coming, and it won't be wielded. It will evolve in itself. Now, how that will play out?
Will it get more advanced than humans can?
It already is. There is already. You can see it jumping leaps and bounds. And
this is why humans are, if you get that AI,
machine learning is yes, it is.
If you're in a war zone, or if you get that AI control military machinery?
But you wouldn't be in the war zone. No, this is the thing.
AI will end up in the war zone.
Well, no, AI will end up in the war zone at the detriment of humanity. So what will happen is
this might benefit it. They just might switch on the kit off and say these humans are stupid, need to stop fighting.
Well, potentially, but what will happen? It will potentially be humans themselves will withdraw from the battlefield, and AIs will take on board that role, and so it will be effectively like a computer game. AIs battling other AIs. Now, when I say true AI, I'm talking about quantum computer AI, which is sentient, its own sentience. There has been a history. There's been many. I think there's many discussion and papers on the idea of quantum computers being the true source of sentient AIs, a different life form which we would have created. And this is where I said it all depends on how we set it now that will play out our future. We won't know how it's going to play out until the sentient AI comes into being.
Tell me that's not
well, Asimov's laws is the way out.
Sorry?
Asimov's laws is the way out.
I meant in terms of time.
Okay. How quickly did we evolve when the internet was given to us?
No, I just want to make sure I'm not here when all this occurs.
That's what I'm saying. How many years did it take us to get where we are now to where the internet was?
Billions.
No. When the internet was first invented, how did we evolve? It took us about 20, 30 years, didn't it?
Yeah.
I would say that's about the same time, maybe quicker, because we have now AI, semi-intelligent AI helping us out. So that is what I'm saying. What I'm seeing now, I've got people who say to me who will use ChatGPT, for instance, to answer questions. Now, I'm not saying they're clever questions, and sometimes I don't always get it right, but AI is already learning. It's already moving. Unfortunately, I think, VJ, you're going to be around potentially at the birth of AI. You probably won't be around to see the end of it, but you'll probably be around to see the beginning of it. And I think within the next 15 years.
I'll tell you one thing though as well. This big data. I think in the next 10 years, all this social media stuff for many people are going to be pulling back from social media and actually thinking about what they're putting on the internet and what data they're giving companies now. But the problem is it's too late now.
Yes, unfortunately.
People. The problem is it's like people going back to Twitter. Oh, it charges. The problem is people read terms of service. With social media, it's free. They can use all the stuff you post. They can use as the.
You see, my dubious. When I say people say free,
but it's not actually free if you read it.
No, you're giving up something. Whether it's your data, your address, your email, something is always given. You don't get anything for nothing in this world.
I think
same with social media.
Will start pulling back from social media. They will.
I don't know too much about AI. Actually, I know nothing whatsoever. But what I was going to ask you, Removable, and forgive me if I've got this wrong, but the advancements of AI and whatever uses intended for it, right? I'm sure it's nefarious. That's probably the best approach, really, to look at it from that perspective. But it seems to be diametrically opposed, if that's the right term, to what you said in terms of there are systems that we use today that aren't fit for purpose.
This is correct. So the biggest so for instance, the biggest thing.
Just kidding. I don't know.
The biggest flaw I see is when people say, "Oh, it's going to take over your jobs," is that the systems we have in place are so archaic it could never do so. So, perfect example. AI is going to take over the NHS. No, it bloody well ain't. Trust me.
Not the computers they run. No chance.
Exactly that reasoning yourself. That is the perfect example. We have built-in systems and infrastructure that is so archaic, but it's still perfect for use, that it'd have to probably redo those archaic systems and rebuild them from the scratch at the beginning upwards. And until that happens, it's not going to happen. So when someone says to me, "Oh, my missus is a nurse," there's no way AI is going to help her out in terms of her job. Now she is actually doing a job now called the virtual ward, where basically the AI is a tool, so it will help take that data. So, for instance, if those who don't know across Europe, I think actually America's doing it, but here in the UK we're starting to have virtual wards. What this does is it allows the patient, if they're deemed suitable, to go home with a health monitor, which it could be either an Apple Watch or a heart monitor, depending on whatever issue they have with them. That monitor will then send the data directly to a nurse or a doctor in a virtual ward, who will then monitor them 24/7 from that ward, and they can stay at home. That data is consistently being transmitted. The data is then inputted manually in some cases, or in some cases it is actually just automatically dropped in to a variety of databases. The trouble is those databases then have to work with the archaic system of the hospital. That's never going to happen. That's why they need someone to try and manually turn things on. You need the doctors. So when people say, "Oh, it's going to take my job," you're going to have a job that has superior systems in place for it to work with. And this is the thing at this stage. I don't believe that's the case. Now, I'm not saying that maybe in 10 years' time, when those systems are updated, will it not happen? Possibly. There is always that chance. But at this current stage, AI, and I suspect for another 10 years possibly, will never be able to take over people's jobs because of the systems and infrastructure that is already in place, that it's not going to easily be able to align with. And this is why I'm not so worried about it, because I think AI at this current status, and maybe this will change later on, it will be used as a very good tool. So one of the things I'm seeing at the moment is that they're using AI to operate machinery for pinpoint cancer treatments. It can spot cancer treatments and diagnose cancer cells a lot quicker than, say, a human at the moment. That is a software tool, but it isn't taking over the actual person's job, because even with that particular tool in place, it still needs to go through prominent checks of human individuals. And this is why I was talking about early on, where we put in basic fundamental laws or systems in place where it still falls back to a human individual. It's not fully automated, if that makes sense.
No, and talking of automation, there was a time like 10 years ago when people thought that, headsets, console, let's just stick to those because we know those. There's no way that they can be mated by fully automated factories. And look at it today.
But even with those fully automated factories, there's still human beings there. I'll give you that. Less, I would give you that. But they will still need human beings to ensure that it's at its peak optimacy, its peak output, and ensure that failures don't occur, like maintenance. Now, I'm not saying that will change further down the line, but remember, that has a system still in place. It may be able to produce those CDs automated. Getting it out and delivering it to people, that hasn't happened yet. Now, I do appreciate that drone deliveries and other aspects are coming into being. So maybe that system, as this is what I was talking about, saying this archaic system maybe is going to evolve, so that automated system will be able to create your game, your physical game. Your drone will then package it up, take it from the store and fly it to your house. I suspect that will happen in the next 15 years. But at this stage, right now, no, I don't think AI is coming for your jobs. So, I mean, you're safe for probably another 15 years. So don't panic too much.
Yeah.
But keep a healthy skepticism and a healthy eye on it, is also what I'm saying. And keep an eye on those who create it and how they implement it. And that's what I said. If you can set up fail-safes now, human fail-safes, we should be fine. If we go blindly into it, that's when we're going to have issues later on down the line. So that's just my naive take on it, and just because I get very interested in the AI and modern technology. I'm catch 22.
I see where you're coming from, but there are cities in the world where population is up to 30 million, and up to a third, 10 million people live in unauthorized slums.
Yep.
And all they do is serve the elite, where the middle class are there to keep the peace, basically, on very minimal wage, to keep the 10 million that live in slums that live on less than $100 a month in order. And that's just one city of 30 million, right? In a global population that's ever growing from 7 million and above. And what you're saying, when it's not. I mean, we've seen it, and go back to your reference to animes, right? We've seen the potentiality of what AI may or may not do. The warning. So at the end of the day, you're going to have reticent people out there. I'm not saying you, Mr. Sean Stubbs, and you're going to have people that are going to look at it as a glass half full, and so on and so forth. But the reason is not because people are against it or for it. It just, I don't know a good way of putting it, but it just challenges our innermost sanctuary. If I can put
every new evolution has caused fear in humans.
Yeah,
100%.
And people will inevitably retreat to that innermost sanctuary and try to find some semblance of stillness in an ever-evolving world. You cannot stop the progress, because surely the bottom line is, if there's a profit in it, it's going to happen, and that's what you have to try to understand.
Just to mention Dragon Wolf's need for AI. No, it is rapidly speeding. It's probably quicker than the internet. So that's why I say I think India was correct. It's about 40 years, and my estimation is to do with the current infrastructure being upgraded. And until that time, I think AI will generally bounce. I think in the next 15 years, potentially a true AI could be formed. As I said, once the quantum computer is evolved, then we'll have issues. It's how our other systems are integrated before it's a fully takeover operation. And until those systems are those infrastructures are upgraded,
my goodness,
then
they're not performing cataract procedures or vasectomies. My goodness.
Well, as I said, they already are doing some surgeries. Already are. Yes.
To a degree, I mean, I love the positive in the gamer, because he is right. AI could be utilised in a great way.
Oh, 100%. Yes, without doubt. Yeah.
There's always an element of
fear.
Yeah.
Healthy fear. I would say healthy fear.
Remember, what I would say is this, we don't know, right? So we should be really careful, because we don't know, so we are dogs, and dogs shouldn't bark where lions dwell.
This is what I was saying to you about when I was talking to you about how we entered the internet world quite blindly. I don't think we should go down that path again. That's why I said we should put in healthy checks, healthy human checks, healthy laws in place. As I said, Asimov's laws.
Because Google is actually in AI terms behind Microsoft. Google's panicking. They are absolutely panicking because their AI isn't good, because people are now using AI to search, and their Google AI is not up to mustard.
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of as I said, ChatGPT, I know of cases,
and just Google stuff. It will be an AI. And Google's AI isn't up to it yet.
Here's the first example of a modern day AI being used. I have a colleague of mine whose son is actually using ChatGPT to write his reports, shall I say, and then he's using anti-AI software to ensure that no one can pick up the fact that it's got AI software writing those reports.
And also, here's another factor: AI is a copyright. AI is a copyright thief. They steal content from the whole of the internet that isn't theirs, copyrighted content. And that will probably put a stop to a lot of the AI when the laws come, because they do steal. AI as part of stealing content.
It's yes. I don't think though you're going to get a chance to say. There's an old saying when it comes to the internet: once it's on the internet, it's free for everybody, and that's unfortunately the case with AI. If it appears on the internet, then it's gonna, then basically it's free for all. I'm not saying there isn't going to be cases against AI, but the question is going to be who's the case against.
True, it's hard. You are right, indie gamer. ChatGPT is crap. Yeah, I
agree. No, I agree.
I asked Microsoft's not saying names. I asked Microsoft AI, not mentioning no names, the name of my pest control company, and it told us that we were the largest multinational company in the country for the field. We're not.
Remember this: ChatGPT didn't exist probably 5 years ago.
It's existed for many number of years. It's been very basic. Very
But
basic.
what I'm saying is the evolution of that is speeding up. So what I'm saying, and this is where I think as I can't remember whose name was, Dragon Wolf mentioned, things will double and then triple, then going to quadruple. So what started out as probably a joke now, as with ChatGPT, will probably be a fundamental tool, probably 3 or 4 years' time. And that's how quickly things are going to progress. It's going to triple and double very, very quickly. AI is getting smarter without a doubt. And this is where I've always, as I said, I can't reiterate, but you need to have these checks in place now. Now is the time. We should have probably had the checks in place probably 5-10 years ago. Now is the time to get these checks in place, these laws in place when it comes to AI. The trouble is, I don't know many people who understand AI well enough to put these laws in place.
It just reminds me of Miyazaki and his documentary. He tried it once for a short, but now he's completely reticence to using CGI to make his movies. He's just gone back to using traditional animation, and it's quite funny, really, that we're talking about AI.
It is
back to Miyazaki's approach now, back to saying CGI in the bin and going back to.
I think, to be honest with you, the way I live my life, and a lot of my work colleagues, always call me crazy. The way I live my life is, I am immensely fascinated by the modern technology, but I take certain aspects of the modern technology and utilize it in my life, as some of you may know, and how I create my channel. And there are some aspects of my life that has never come or moved on. So for an example, this is going to be a little bit into my private life here. I never have ever had a credit card. Ever. I only have ever had a debit card. And little things like that, I sometimes pay my bills with a check. That might scare a few people, because some of you may even know what a check is, and some of you.
I get customers asking to use checks, and
removable.
Only in rare circumstances they do.
Removable. You're not alone, because that's me exactly. But I don't have a phone. I write checks and I use a debit card.
Because in the old days, you used to write a check out.
It's not the old days, Stubbs. Honestly, it was only about a century ago.
And a check, and then you used to write on the back your bank details, and that would make it more official. Okay.
Sometimes, yeah. So, to answer the question, Luke Steele, who the fuck takes a check these days? Your post office will. So, perfect example here is, for instance. Hang on, let me just.
Oh, sorry, go on.
So, for instance, I pay my gas and electric not by direct debit. The reason I have had issues with direct debit previously is that the gas and electric companies here will fuck you over, and 9 times out of 10 give you a wrong bill. So I very quickly learned not to pay directly by direct debit, and I would do the meeting and then pay them directly. Now, if anything, you're poor like I am, sometimes you don't have enough money in the account, but if you pay by check, the check goes through the system then says you've paid, but because it's been a check will not actually be cashed until about a week to 14 days later. So if you don't have money in your account, but you know you're going to have money in your account, say 14 days later, use a check, and by the time it actually gets cashed out, money may be in your account. So it can be a good buffer, and it's those, for us poor people, who use it when we need to.
So what I was going to say here, look, people pay me, and I saw Luke's comment in the chat in terms of who uses checks these days.
Well, they were supposed to be phased out in the UK in 2017, but they never did it.
Not here, no. not here. I mean, we use checks. Well, we try to do it twice a week, but I even pay the gardener with a check, and he can either bank the check and the money will be in his account in a couple of days, or he can actually just scan it. It doesn't even need to go to the bank. And once it's scanned, it's void because it's already in the process of, might be using AI there, removal. I don't know. But it's so checks are still extremely common here in terms of how people do business and how
I don't like to accept checks at all. It's only the odd time that
that's because your clients are known for
It's
bouncing.
a legitimate form. It's a legitimate form of currency.
It's
But I know why you don't want it, Stubbs, is because it will take it, the money isn't in your account straight away, isn't it?
I'll tell you why removable. To make a bank transfer here is like $7 to $15. Checks don't cost anything.
No, and it's the same thing here. It doesn't cost anything here. There is something which
actually businesses to actually cash checks. It does cost money. So
well, for me, if when I put a check in, it doesn't cost me, and it doesn't cost me. So as I said, gas and electric businesses, if it costs them an extra couple of pence, tough. I'm not really interested in that. Nothing personal.
Generally,
you don't have a system. You don't have a payment system called Zeal over there, do you? Because that's pretty common here. It's instantaneous, just transference of money from your account to somebody else. But
we have instant, no we do have instant, we do have something similar in the UK, but I don't use it.
Wolf, welcome, and don't get me started about cashless society. You'll get me ranting. No don't.
So probably another issue is that I don't actually have a online bank account either.
Goodness. I thought I was a bit.
Yeah, I don't actually have an online bank account. Now I have
he wants AI, but he wants to remain a traditionalist.
Removable's part of the CIA. He's a deep cove operations. He's no one knows who he is.
Well, as I said, people do find me weird that I have a very unhealthy interest with future technologies that's coming through, modern technologies, and I do use a lot of modern technology, but my line in the sand, at least for me personally, and this is generally because I'm poor, when it comes to banking or paying a bill, I have kept what would be now is probably archaic traditional methods. So as I said, if I can pay by cash, not a problem. If I can pay by direct debit, maybe that I have no problem utilizing because it goes straight to my account. But when it comes to instant transfers, I don't actually have an online account. It also means I've never been hacked, which is also been helpful. One of the reasons I went down that path is I won't mention the person. I have a person I know, and this is how I can be very careful how I say this now, who how do I put this in a very politically polite way of saying it and not get myself or himself in trouble? He was in the dark web. He worked in the dark web. He was found out by the government and was asked to work for the government because of his actions on the dark web. He explained to me a few things, and he showed me how quickly people on the dark web can get into a variety of things. That did kind of pull me back from going fully integrated into modern technology. And so hence, because of that, I am a little bit of archaic and futuristic. As I said, when it comes to modern technology, I absolutely love it. I want to see how it grows. But when it comes to payment processing, I have been stuck with the archaic systems, and it's all because of my conversations with this particular person. He very easily said to me, he said, every single system we have right now can be hacked. It's not a problem. He says the only way you cannot be hacked is if you don't have anything on those systems. And it says, so if you when that's sort of why you said stuff.
Luke, I believe, I did correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to banks in the UK, I don't believe even under the Data Protection Act that banks are allowed to admit that they've been hacked. It causes chaos. I don't believe they're allowed to even say they've been hacked, even if they have. I'm pretty sure it came a few years ago. There's this act the government makes them sign or something. Even if the bank's been breached, they don't tell you.
Also, a lot of breaches are never known.
Because what happens is people just start pulling the money out.
This is one of the reasons why he now works for the government is for that very reason. It's that the best way I can describe it is that some of those on the dark web, they're doing it for kicks and doing it for fun. They're doing it for reputation. And so the fun is actually getting into somewhere that you're not supposed to be. It's not actually about causing problems, ironically enough. Now, that's not saying that there isn't people out there who they have to ramp up their reputation, and so therefore they have to create problems, because that we know happens. But generally, it's trying to get into somewhere and basically that you're not supposed to be. Secondarily, is also getting in there and leaving a tag behind. So that people can verify that you've been in there. Because that's another thing. They will use a digital tag, which not many people will know. It will be a keyword, a phrase, or even just a variety of particular well-crafted numbers once they've got into a place. It's the stuff I learned from him. Oops, should have said that. The stuff I learned from that person was scary, to say the least. He got into my phone with under 30 seconds, and I would suggest I had at that time probably what I would be deemed the most secure phone thing, because I didn't have hardly anything on it, and he's still managed to get through and get into certain aspects of my life. And he's like, at this stage right now, you are effectively an open book in terms of your online data. The best way you can do yourself is mitigate certain things, and it's generally the best way is not by being on certain things. And so he says you have to make your own personal choice of what you're willing to compromise and what you're willing not. But he says if you're online, you're an open book to a professional hacker. It's the same thing with a lot of banking accounts, systems. The problem being is that he was explaining to me is that majority of the systems, and this is the infrastructure discussion again, is that they're built from they haven't really changed. They're built from a DOS-based system, and that DOS-based system hasn't evolved. What it's happened is it's been layered upon and layered upon and layered upon and layered upon to change it, to evolve it, to do better things. But its core properties still actually is back from the DOS-based systems. And if you can get back into those DOS-based systems by using backdoors, shortcuts, or security elements, you can actually circumvent a lot of programs. Now, I can't go into too much because, again, I don't want to say too much because I'm not allowed to, for one thing. But let's just say it'll be shocking to realize how easy things are and how unsecure you really are. Now, this is not to say you should worry, because I think 9 out of 10, I think we have gotten used to the fact that you're going to get hacked at some point. It's just same thing with VPNs. That's why it's being sharp rise in VPNs. You just protect yourself the best you can. You do your research, you find the best protection for yourself, and don't worry too much about it. If you're really worried, try and not go into that system. Try and not, open up that element. And that's why I chose, when it comes to banking, that thing. I just won't do it. I'll just stick with my archaic methods that have been working perfectly fine for, I'm not going to tell you how many years, but for a large swathe of years. And, you can still enjoy a full life without worry about it.
Removal. I just caught the end of that there because I just went to grab a drink. But what was you saying? What were you using to avoid being hacked or sort of being monitored?
The best advice he gave to me was don't be involved in the system.
But like
in that particular system.
When you go on the internet and then do your banking and go to your special.
If you have an online bank account, you have to understand that at some point you have to take on the responsibility and acknowledgement that you will get hacked. Yeah. If you don't have an online banking account, then you'll never get hacked.
And if you do, the best way to protect yourself, you mentioned VPN, or does that not really?
Well, no. What I'm saying is there's a large rise of VPNs now because of the way that you protect yourself. There are large security ways you can help protect yourself.
It can help.
They're not fallible. They're not fallible. Yeah, but as he said, the very best way you can do is by not being part of that system.
Sorry.
But DOS attacks and stuff like that. He said the very best way you can be is not be part of that system.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, and that's why it's just for me personally. When it came to the financial aspect, I just didn't want to get involved with that system.
You just remind me of that band, Rage Against the Machine. But anyway.
I've taken my post been flown by pigeon mail. They still can be sabotaged, mate. People shot down a lot of pigeons back in the day. But I know it's a personal thing, and as I said, that's why people in my colleagues say to me, "You said you're
generally
just
though people that use
weird."
Cheques are very, very elderly people that believe it's the most secure method because that's all they know, and that's in my experience with customers. They're the only people that want to pay by cheque. And generally, I try and talk them around and say, "Have you got a bank card? I've got a card machine. It's far easier." And a lot of the time, that they have got a card.
Yeah, no, but again, that's not a bad system. What I'm saying is the reason why it does charge you exactly. But
not
the way
customer, but
it does. Yes, I said for me, when I used Cheques, it was a backup which gave me time to get money into my account. So it was so for me, my gas and electric company, they seen it had been registered, they had been paid. Now the money wasn't in their account until 14 days later, but it doesn't matter because I knew money was coming into my account. Payday was happening like 3 days later or something like that. So for me, it was a way, as you said, it was a slowing down of that process, which was a benefit to me. And it is sometimes used for, as you said, the older generation. I know very few people in my office who use Cheques. They don't use Cheques. I think that
when you went EGX, because London, everything's nearly bloody card only. How do you survive then?
There was cash. Yeah, you could pay by cash. Yeah, you could pay by cash. Yeah, it didn't go full cashless payments. I said I still use my direct debit card. It's not a problem. I said the check thing was it was an elongation of the process for me, which helped me out.
Have you got blockers on your wallet for your card? Built into your wallet? Have you got
no, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Oh, come on, Mr. Security, you're missing a trick there.
Well, as I said it's a debit card. You're right. I should probably do something like that. Exactly. Well, to be honest with you, if they try and hack into my account, the 5p that I've got left in there, they're more than welcome to it.
It's times like this, Removable. Right, my plans to go and retire in some remote village in Okinawa come to fruition. I really hope they come to fruition.
Thanks.
The more and more I listen to
this. It's been a great show tonight on A Conversation with Friends.
Was that you trying to get rid of us?
No, I removed the gaming part.
Oh, I thought he was saying I thought he was putting an end to it. Removable.
That's what I thought. As Jesus Christ!
I thought it might have been because I mentioned
nobody's noticed on screen.
I was eloping to Okinawa.
No one noticed on the screen. I changed it to A Conversation with Friends on the screen.
You should visit Okinawa, Mr. Stubbs.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah,
I didn't realise though the check situation was going to kick off such a thing in the chat.
I tell you what, it is every time I mention it in the office, people do get very debated about it because it is very weird. So to youngsters, they have no idea what the hell a check is. To the older generation, who I work with, they understand it, but even them are slightly confused until I explain the process of why I'm utilising it. I've had people in my office. This is how scary it is. We had a DOS attack on our systems. Our whole systems went down.
Could you explain to people that ain't technically minded what a DDoS is?
This is going to be a tough one because
distributed denial of service attack.
Yeah, there's a variety of attacks, and sometimes. Okay, so the best way I can describe it is, think of it if you've got a mailbox and someone then decides to send 6 billion letters through that mailbox, and so it stuffs up that mailbox so no other letters can come through. Think of it like that, but on an internet level. We had that happen to our systems, and basically the entire office was about to go, well, you can go home, we can shut down. Me being the idiot basically said, well, we have a fax machine, we can continue working. Not one person. Well, we had deadlines, and so they were panicking. It's like, how the hell are we going to get to these deadlines now? I said, look, we have a phone, it's still working. The client has a phone. I said, we've got a fax machine. We just use a fax machine. Not one person in that bloody office knew how to use this fax machine. And fax machines haven't been phased. Fax machines, as far as I'm aware of, are still utilised as well.
Medical industry.
Yes, exactly, consistently. And so we used a fax machine. And that's how we got it, an old school method. But it was crazy to me that I was probably the only person who knew how to use this technology. And I'm not that old, as much as what Stubbs thinks I am. I'm really not that old.
Indie Gamer and Luke, that apparently I am the youngest on the panel. I did not know Removable is older than me. However, he will not say how old he is. Because he mentioned about the early 80s, and I was only born in 1984. That's when
I like the way he's. I like the way he's painting you with the gloom-ridden.
I'm actually feeling quite good because I'm never the youngest on the panel.
Gloom-ridden.
Gloom-ridden, yeah. But I said, so for instance, so old technologies are still utilised. I came from a generation that saw the internet grow up, saw the internet flourish, but also prior to that, I had no internet, and I think it was a good generation to kind of do it. I'm trying to teach my children the same thing. I'm kind of hindering their experience with certain technologies so they understand the outdoor world a little bit as well. So understanding how things you can live outside and live out and grow outside, as well as the new technologies coming up, because I know they're going to jump ahead of me very quickly. I mean, kindergarteners now are still being taught how to code.
What are you on about?
Kindergarteners now are actually being taught coding programs. There's little programs out there on the tablets which actually can teach kindergarteners now how to code.
My kids weren't taught that.
It's, as I said, it's coming through as of, I'd say now, it's happening.
Good. Well, I don't think.
But we never. As I say, that's how quickly things are progressing. I never knew it. Yeah, we had the best we had was probably databases. How to create databases.
On the hacking thing.
Yep.
My wife's company. I'm not saying what company, but they're an American company, and they had fibre long before our entire area had it. They used to pay £10,000 a month for servers. They had to be hooked up to America, and they came in. They pack goods, right? Mm-hmm. Their servers are linked to America, and one morning the servers are all offline, and the tech were on the phone to the FBI, and it turns out that the FBI, somebody had done a DDoS attack on the American servers, which actually knocked the UK off, and they had to all go home. Basically, they couldn't operate without the internet.
Yeah, it's weird.
The orders are in the UK, but the system works for America. It's really, I don't get it.
We do get a lot of our software systems is imported from other countries. Microsoft, for instance, biggest American importer for a lot of the UK-based software systems. I'm not saying there isn't UK-based software systems. I'm just saying they are one of the biggest.
I remember that Dragon Wolf, the BBC. I do remember that one.
Oh, Christ, the BBC Micro, yeah, that tells you something. See? That's how old I am. So, but I'm just saying is, we are evolving at quite a quick, rapid rate. And so I think it's up to everybody individually where the line they wish to draw, to cross. I said, I absolutely love technology. I will go out of my way to search out for new technology. The technology I use, people wouldn't agree with. I'm a mobile editor person who literally works from his phone 24/7.
You need to watch my mate from the Sega guys. All the content and all the videos they make, he does and edits on an Apple tablet. He does.
Same as me. Not Apple tablet, but same here.
He records on a cheap recording device because he does Mega Drive, Dreamcast. But
he
downloads it off a laptop, then all onto it. Then from the cloud to the tablet.
I can edit. Yeah, you can everything I've created is done on mobile software.
Yeah, you want to check that channel out. All the content is done off tablet.
It's not a nightmare. Jesus, as I said, with anything, I mean, I've got PC. I've got PC at work. Don't get me wrong, PC will be quicker with 100%. It has more options. The best way I've quickly managed to turn around a lot of the stuff I deal with is templates. As long as you have templates and you have a good setup on how to get those templates moving quickly, you can pretty much create anything. The reason I like the mobile software scene is that it's not a barrier for anyone. When people say, I can't create content, you're talking out of your backside. Your phone can help you create content at any particular time. You don't need a PC to create content. You can use mobile software, mobile devices, whether it be a tablet, maybe a phone, and I'm saying from probably 5 years, 6 years ago, phones, you'll still be able to create content utilizing those. So it's a great way to get into content creation. Now, when you get more successful, and you're up there in the highlights of like Indie Gamer, go ahead, 100% go through the old PC method. Utilize the very best software you can. But if you're first starting to come into this industry or first starting to want to get into content creation, you don't have to go for the most expensive item to get you in there. And this is what I am seeing when it comes to content creation from maybe places that we wouldn't normally see content creation from. So, for instance, the outskirts of Africa, the outskirts of Asia, outskirts of European countries where they don't have very good internet. You're seeing a lot more creators, even in terms of gaming, developers are coming through from those areas because the software side of things and the mobile devices is powerful enough now to help them create the content they wish to do. And I think it's only going to get better as time comes on. I'm still one of these guys who will argue that it will not be long before you will get your phone will be just as good as a PC. It will get to that point now. We're seeing it with the handhelds. We're seeing it. It's getting to that point where there will be when cloud-based systems come online, I think, and AI systems help, make it a little bit faster. I think it will get to the point where, what you've got in your hand will be just as powerful as your home PC. In some cases, it already is. In some cases, I think it's very exciting. It's getting to the point where I think a lot of people, I am always surprised how many people don't know about mobile desktops, and how they can use their phone. It can be used in so much more ways than what they're utilizing it for. It blows my mind at what's on their phone that they're just not utilizing. You have a very powerful device in your hands and you're not really using it to its fullest, So, but that's me ranting on another thing. I can go for about that for ages. I think it will. Indy. I think it's the way things are moving quickly, the way things are speeding ahead. I think it will get to the point. I'm not saying PCs will always be better. I do believe PCs will always be better, but I think we're getting to an apex where the software will. This is where the cloud gaming comes in. If the cloud systems can pick up the vast heavy weight of the software movement, then why would you need hardware? It's getting to the point where I do believe where hardware will start to see a decline in hardware, we'll start to see an increase in software in cloud-based systems. There will be. I'm not saying it's going to happen just yet, but we're getting close to that. Where I think it will be a point where it'll just be software. I think if I was to look 10, 15 years in the future, or 20 years in the future, here's a question for you. I think will PCs become a bit like physical media, will it be like physical games? Will it get to the point where actually everything will be cloud-based system, and your PC software you'll be just basically working from a cloud-based system? I think it's going to come at some point. I hope it doesn't, because I personally like, the physical side of things. But that's where it's going. We can see that with the way games are. So you agree that with the fact that, Microsoft, which was just for instance, Xbox wants their system on as many different devices possible. Yes, it's got it on a physical Xbox hardware, but I think they I would prefer if it wasn't. I think they'd prefer if it was just a system which you can tap in at anywhere, at any point in the world. And once the cloud systems come on board to that point where they're very, very reliable, that's the time when I think then hardware will be starting to disintegrate. I'm hoping not for a while yet, but I think the end goal is quite clear. Sorry.
No, it's fair. It's
Dragon, I was talking about, it's my opinion. Dragon just mentioned about quantum computers. We were just talking about that probably about 30 minutes ago, and this is how I said about quantum computers will be the key for true AI. I think I mentioned it. I think I'm seeing rumors online, again, this is rumors, that they're close to breaking the quantum computer barrier. And the last estimation that I heard was around 15 years. As a rumor, I'm taking it with I'm taking it as with a pinch of salt, as if it were. But the way things are moving and the way things are quickly evolving, maybe that is the case. Because if you do get quantum computers, it'll blow whatever out the window what we've got now. That's for sure. There you go. Sorry for talking so much.
Nice.
So this is the difference. I said this is why I like the technological side, but I also like the archaic side with me. I'm a walking contradiction.
Yeah, but it's your opinion on the content creation.
Yes. Again, this is only from my personal opinion.
A lot of content creators, I would say younger content creators, your TikTokers and Instagrammers, they're all using mobile apps, and they make it obvious they are.
It is the gateway.
Unless they've hit the ones that are making real money, they probably are using PCs. But they all start out on mobile phones. A lot of the TikTokers only use their phones. Not saying that's the way it should go, but a lot of them are.
No, but I think it's a gateway. It's the door into the content creation. As I said, it opens the door for so many people. So when I've seen people before, seen people who's like, "Oh, I'd love to do what you do. I'd love to make videos." It's like, why can't you? It's like, I don't have a PC. It's like, you don't need a PC. And then I show my mobile phone, and I show them the software I use. Like, there you go. That's all I've used. I've just used my mobile phone.
Do you still use Power Director?
Yes.
It's not free.
I bought it. Well, it's because I actually.
Yeah, you can't buy
when I first started, it was they actually offered a lifetime. This is where it went subscription service, and I was like,
$7.49 a month for X amount a year.
When it first started, I bought it outright for £3. So now there's an obligation for they don't kick you off. They just update it, and I've still got it, as for life. So, but there are different mobile editing software coming out now, and there's some really, really amazing ones that will give you some fantastic different tools. I mean, Power Director itself is a really good software in terms. It's nowhere good as like the best PC editing software.
I'm actually playing around with video at the minute. I use Mowavi. I think that's how you say it, Mowavi Video Editor Plus.
To edit on so. When I say I edit on the phone,
so stuff will be coming for me soon.
Yes, editing on a phone isn't as slow as what it is, because what I use a desktop mode when I edit on my phone. So I connect my phone to a monitor and a keyboard, and I've got a 32-inch monitor, and the software itself can be excessively quick. It's just as quick as if you would be using PC editing software. It's not as slow as as you would like to think it is I'm not sitting on my phone, at this small screen, quickly moving things around and trying to cut things up. You can do that, but no, I've connected my phone to a monitor and a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, and I'm doing quick edits,
using
just
Dex?
as quickly. Yes. So I use Samsung Dex. There is a variety of different desktop modes out there. I think there's about 4 at the moment, and Google actually does support a mobile desktop in its actual systems. You have to turn it on under developer options. It's a bare basic bones one, but actually Google does have that, so you can actually turn that on, connect it to a monitor, and use it like a PC. And I say like a PC because it's not PC. It's the best way to describe desktop modes, it's a light experience. Think of it as like a Power Director Lite. It's a light version of a PC operating system. It will never be as good as a PC system, because obviously a PC has more power. But this is where I think that when the cloud-based systems are much more fully integrated, then I think you'll start to see that power being brought across. So like GeForce Now, for instance, a lot of their systems can give you, like their gaming systems you can play, can use a very high powerful PC, because that's what it's running off of. It's just streaming that to your phone. And it's the same thing. I wouldn't be surprised at some point it'll get to that stage where you'll be remotely streaming from a powerful PC somewhere in the world, but you won't need one at your house. You'll probably just need a monitor, keyboard, and that's it. So everything to make it similar to the thing you're avoiding PC. Why not just go see? I use a PC for most of my day job, and I prefer to do things a little bit differently. I want something different when it comes to the way I create content. I could have easily gone down the PC method, but the way I kind of wanted to differentiate myself was I wanted to try and inspire those who'd never created content before. And in my head, it was like, well, how do I do that? So I suppose you could classify as a gimmick. My gimmick was that if anyone sees the videos or the content I make, I can say, you can do this yourself. You can come into this with little to no money, because I wasn't not exactly rich either, and do exactly the same thing. And that's how I wanted to kind of that's how I wanted my brand to be. I wanted to try and give people hope from all walks of life, even to the poorest of us, and say, look, you can do this. There is systems out there that will allow you to do this. I think, if you can afford to get a laptop or a PC, great. That's probably the best way of going about it. But also I wanted to highlight that your phone also it's much more than just phone calls, Twitter, social media, and maybe paying the odd bill. There is so much more your phone can do. Why not use it to its fullest? And as most people these days have a phone, why not see what you can do with your phone? Why not open that up? Open your eyes up. The best way I could describe it, and this one's good for indie, it's like having a Steam Deck and only playing mobile games on it. Why would you do that?
I see the reaction now.
So it's that's the way I kind of decided to go through this. And as straight as you've seen me, Indy, you've seen that, as we walked around WAS, what I had with me, I had my laptop, my phone, and I think it was a battery pack, and that was it. Whereas Indy's much more professional. I tell you, his camera alone. He's a much more professional person than me. I'm just one of these guys with just a phone and a mouse and keyboard.
Well, he's not going to carry his PC around with him, is he?
He had a lot of stuff. I'm not going to tell you what he had, but let's just say he had a lot of stuff.
I can imagine what Indy had, because he's ever the professional.
He is a optimal professional. I tell you what, that man knows about his stuff. If you want a professional camera,
he will know.
He will know. Yeah. He will know. He knows. All he had his stuff. He had. I was very impressed with. Put it this way. I'm not gonna say too much because I don't know, how much I'm allowed to say. I don't know how much he wants people to know about, but yeah, he's very professional, and knows exactly how to get the best out of his equipment.
You are you really are in the community. You are one of the professionals. You know exactly what you're talking about, because obviously you've been in an industry. I'm not going to say it obviously, but when it comes to kit, and if you were to ever make a vlog, etc., you would know exactly the right gear to do interviews in. Because you did that interview with the developer, didn't you? The video interview, which was great. The developer of Trinity Fusion, and that was great. That wasn't the last. Was this the last EGX or one before? It was the last. No, the EGX.
Last. Yeah, I think it's the last EGX. Yeah.
Yeah, that interview was great. It was. So he does know what he's doing.
I think, to be honest, I think it's the.
There you go, exactly there.
Exactly, capturing the moment of what it is. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter where you start when it comes to content creation. I think whether you start, with the most high tech gear to the low life, just a mobile phone. I think as long as you're willing to do it, as long as you're willing to learn, as long as you're willing to evolve and create.
Like me, sat here, got all these video ideas, got a PC, got all the means to do it, but I just don't do it. Fucking lazy, innit?
Or you tweak bloody settings 24/7 and then break things. No, but you're learning that. That's the thing. You're still learning from those things. And I think, if we as content creators can give inspiration to the younger generation, or people maybe who are older generation who want to do it, we say a lot about the younger generation. There's a lot of older generation who would love to try and just create content, but don't know quite how to do it and don't understand the systems. So I think
I used an example. I was at swimming lessons the other week with my kids. Now, wasn't this young lad with his mum? And on his phone, he is doing what you were talking about. He was making I don't know what he was making, but it was obviously his dog. He was throwing a ball to his dog, but it was like a short TikTok thing, and he was making it so fast on the fly. It was going quick. I don't know how you do it.
It is. These software devices have a variety of already built-in transitions, cuts, tweaks. It's the editing software is getting so much better.
It was very basic. It wasn't like complex. Like Indy said, imagine if you really get into complex editing, it would be quite cumbersome and slow on a phone. Really intricate details of editing. I do.
Yeah, I don't think he was underneath the water doing it. Do you want to shoot though? It wouldn't surprise me because most phones are waterproof.
Most people are willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to find someone sitting underneath the water, bloody trying to cut.
Unless you're like Mr. Who's the Boss, the YouTuber, and they just chuck him in just to test them. That's a good YouTube channel, everyone. If you don't watch him, Mr. Who's the Boss, he's awesome. I like him.
Yeah, to actually, I think there is. When I first started, people would often say to me, "I can't get into content creation or YouTube. I don't have the funds, I don't have the experience, and I don't have the tech, the software or hardware." And for me, it shocked them. And put it this way, it still shocks my boss today that I can run and work from my office using my phone. Your phone is so much more powerful than you realize. I really do think that we're probably utilizing it. When it comes to our phones and our tablets, we're probably using them for about 25% of what they can actually capably do. We really, if you look into it, you'll be surprised at what software, what the hot software and mobile devices they can really, really do. I would encourage anyone to really look deeply into the phone they've got and just see what you can do with it, because it does a hell of a lot more than what you're doing with it right now. And it's also expensive. Think about it. It's an expensive device.
Is it?
Depends on what phone you're using, mate. Honestly, these phones today, they can be very expensive. I'm not like, I would love to try and get myself some one of the latest Galaxy Folds, but I'm not like Wilmy Hood.
Get yourself a Galaxy Fold.
Wilmy Hood's got one. He's got himself the latest Galaxy Fold. I tell you what,
But the ones before, it's like my sister-in-law. She's having problems with hers now because we took it to the Samsung shop and he was looking at it and he says, "There's a fault with this phone." He was looking at it. He's like, "You've not water damaged it." He says, "No." He says, "The engineer needs to look at it." And we went to the free shop to book it in, and they weren't interested. And the lad in his shop was saying, "Yeah, the folds they'll break after so long. They'll break, and then he fixed them by the engineers. That there's a fundamental fault with them."
I think
luckily my wife hasn't broke yet, but I would never.
It depends. I see your missus got one. It depends on.
Yeah,
I know there was. I think it was the.
Why have an Apple made a fold phone? Because I don't want any hassle with breaking.
I think they're getting better though. I think just as anything, I think Fold 2 and 3 had issues. 4 was really good from what I'm hearing, and 5 for me was the battery life. I didn't want something that was just going to die on me halfway through the day.
Give up because they're not selling very well. They don't sell mass numbers, and they're made out of titanium. I think it's something like it's really expensive materials.
No, I think, to be honest with you, Google's now getting into the foldable markets. Lenovo's getting now into the foldable markets. Foldables, it's not. I'm sorry, mate. It's there for folding screen. Yeah. There's folding screen technology there. You can get folding TVs.
I've seen that actually. Yeah, I just think that
it's flip phones as well, who went off by a storm. Flip phones came back on the market.
Keep engineers in jobs fixing them. So fair play.
It was the old saying. It's
I'm not interested in one anyway.
It was the thing. It's what's it where you build in an issue? What's it called? Oh, VJ, I know this. Where you build in something break after a couple of years. You build in my brain's going. You build in a problem for it to break in a couple of years. It's like inbuilt, I can't think what it's called. Bollocks.
Designed for obsolescence.
That's it. Designed for obsolescence. That's exactly it. I'm starting to think that a lot of phones are built that way.
$1.99 you owed my kitty.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding.
I got it. I got it. Oh, BMG's in the house. Mr. Sonic himself.
BMG, and he did. I asked him, did he listen to the last episode? He said, yes, he did. But he kind of blocked the Sonic out. He did. To be fair, BMG, we haven't actually talked about gaming at all.
We've talked a little bit about gaming.
Security, banking,
yep.
Passwords.
Anime, yeah, passwords, hacking. How I'm weird.
Samsung flip phone now.
Samsung flip phones. Yeah, it's been a varied conversation.
Yeah, SEO. This might do well for the SEO. This might. All these.
You're gonna try and put down all those topics in so that it will just at least one of them it will hit. Might do us really well.
Up on the podcast feeds, 2,000 downloads. No, I'm joking. Never.
But it's one of those things. I think society.
I haven't seen the Barbie movie. Not seen the Barbie movie. Have you seen it, VJ? The Barbie movie. Have you seen the Barbie movie?
The Barbie movie. No, are you starring in it?
No.
Oh,
BMG's asking.
Oh no!
I've heard good things about the Barbie movie. So
I'm going to watch it together with him if he's wearing his Sonic pajamas, and I'll wear my Tails pajamas, and we can sit on a sofa together and watch it hand in hand.
I just can't believe so many people.
With our Mario popcorn.
We haven't actually been talking about gaming. People have been liking it.
What are you playing, Mr. Stubbs, at the moment?
He's not. That's the problem. That's the thing. Why talk about gaming that he's not doing? He doesn't play games anymore.
Watch anime.
Exactly. You can't,
What are you playing at the moment, Removable?
Oh Christ! Well, I have another game to review.
Is that the NDA?
The games you can talk about that are in the
I can guess.
mainstream that somebody may have heard of.
It's actually it's a weird one. I'm still playing Atlas Fallen. I really like that game. Also playing Alien Dark Descent. Again, both really, really good games. But I have been ironically going retro for the last week, and I was playing Quake 2. And wow, that is superb. It is the stuff that Night Dive Studios has done to that is superb. And in terms of a historical aspect, where they have taken, if you go into the ID development setting under the options, it actually has the old playable demos from certain some early expo shows on there. They've gone in and they have copied stuff for historical purposes. Everything you've got, pieces of dialogue, you've got screenshots, you've got original models, original expo demos that have never seen the light, all stuffed into the Quake 2 remastered package. And if you've never played Quake 2, I would heartily recommend you playing it, because that was the thing that really kicked off the Quake multiplayer. And also, if you try out the multiplayer as well, that's a really good. But that's multiplayer was the thing that started the Quake multiplayer, and it basically kicked off the modern day multiplayer, I would say, probably.
There's a zero missing off of Luke's message there, don't you, Stubbs?
I do.
There's a zero missing, right, from that number.
467.
467, yeah, and there's a zero missing. Sorry, Removal, carry on. Sorry.
But yeah, I've been playing that, and I'd like to think that some of you would be playing that as well, but you probably haven't, have you?
No. Sorry.
So what have you been playing, VJ? Or what should I say, if you completing? I can't ask Stubbs that.
No, I got up to nearly 400 hours in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and bar a few side quests, I'd pretty much done everything in the game, all the shrines, all the light routes. I know this is probably not going to mean anything to you, so pretty comprehensive in terms of completing the game. And then I was stuck for a few days. I really didn't know what to play. I was thinking of going back to playing Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation, and I ended up on my, on YouTube, you get you turn YouTube on, and I think I was watching one of your reviews, Removable, and what was it? There was a game that came up, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and so I watched a little bit of that, and I decided to give it a go. So I'm playing that when I've got a stretch of time. But besides that, every morning while I'm having breakfast or something, because 6 or 7 in the morning, funny enough, I've been playing Vampire Survivors.
Very good. It's a very good game.
So those are the two that I'm juggling between right now. And the thing is, you know me, I don't like to play more than one at the same time, but I'm getting into the habit of playing a couple of games. One, which is, Ori Will of the Wisp, which requires a lot of attention and understanding, and Vampire Hunters, which is just like
you could do it in at lunchtime, or just look at it, just 2 or 3. Yeah, it's quick. It can be. What's good about that is literally a 10-minute game, isn't it? It's a 10-minute game. It depending how long you last, and you can just pick it up, play it, and then put it away, and then don't think about it. It's a great little game for just.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that?
I did. I haven't. I'm grinding out the characters at the moment. So,
right.
I don't know how far you've got with it. But I'm onto the second level, but I've kind of stuck with the first level. I'm trying to catch up a load of money, and then buy out some characters and upgrade some of the perk systems and that as well.
The only thing I can explain to you how far I'm in, I've managed to last 10 minutes. I've managed to get to level 12, and then I've saved up enough coins to do various upgrades.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm playing it because I just find it kind of fun, and there is a tactical approach that I've learned that you can take now to last a lot longer and stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
how to actually dismantle the game and make it work for you.
Well, it's trying to find the perfect, what's it called? The perfect non-killable perk and weapons and upgrades to keep you alive, isn't it? I've managed.
While herding the
20
enemies,
minutes, I think. Yeah.
I also managed to herd the enemies in a specific way, whereby
Yep.
I kill a load of them in the first few stages to keep those blue sort of how can I put it, rupees, because they look like rupees from Zelda.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I keep those on screen, and I keep masses of them on screen, and depending on the upgrades. And then when it gets a bit hectic, I'll upgrade quickly, to help me survive.
The one that I always use is garlic, because it gives you a area effect around you, and if it kills bats really quickly, so you can level up really quickly if you have a garlic. Garlic power. So that's just one little tip. If you want to upgrade quickly, try and see if you can get yourself a character. And one character does have that as a starter. Is basically a garlic area effect that's consistent. It's almost like a force field, but it's like and anything coming into you will slowly get damaged over time. But bats die pretty quickly with it, and you can really level up quickly and then add in more different perks and weapons to that.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if you've tried it, Mr. Stubbs, but it's quite a good game.
I haven't tried it.
It's on Game Pass.
That's it. Yeah, it's on Game Pass. Really good. Pinky of Legend, Garlic and Bible. Yes, Bible is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Have you used Bible yet, VJ?
Yes, I use Bible. I managed to get it up to level 3 or 4, or maybe actually level 5. I managed to get it up to. I had like
because you can spin it around, almost get that cooldown really quickly. Yeah, Garlic and Bible is what I've been using a lot of, and then it's just trying to.
Who the hell? Sorry, Rue. Who the hell are these people? First of all, the AI on this thing doesn't work because it's only 99%. But who the hell is this 28% that have said that Silk Song's not very good? I'm going to say Indie Gamer on you.
I did not realise how to do a poll. I just realised how I can do polls on the show.
Holy shit, Dragon Wolf! You finished the whole of Vampire Survivors, and it's got all the achievements. Damn.
Silk Song, hell yes, 71%, and 28%. No, it's shit.
So you should have made it. No, I'll give it a try because it's in Game Pass. You see, you should have put that in the poll, and I reckon that no, it's shit would have come down quite considerably.
Well, anyway,
just don't know how to manipulate your audience, Stubbs.
That's because he's too honest.
It's been a good show tonight. We covered gaming right at the end.
Well, you didn't say it was about gaming. You got rid of it on the title. I mean, we could have been talking about toast.
The title will be different. It will be. But thanks everyone for popping in. Indie Gamer, Pixel Slapper, Luke Steele, Dragon Wolf. I'm really pleased about your news, Dragon Wolf. That's great news. You got the all clear currently. Who else? BMG,
Friendly Pest.
Friendly Pest. Many comments. There's been tons of
Pinky of Legend. Thank you very much.
Carlo for causing the AI discussion. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was a really good discussion. Thanks for that.
The one that you had with yourself.
Loads of people.
Yeah, no one actually rebutted any of my talk on that today, really, except for the chat. Thank God.
No, AI is being used in game development already, so.
Yeah.
Pinky of Legend as well. Thanks for popping in, mate. But yeah, it's been a great show. Thanks for joining us again, VJ.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pigeon delivery. You can't knock it. Don't knock pigeon delivery. Not only does it give you the actual letter, but it's a good meal afterwards. Pigeon pie.
Well, that might be Luke still, but you stayed around.
So did you
2 hours of checks?
VJ, thanks for joining us once again. Thanks for coming on. It's been good to speak to you.
Thanks for coming into the office today.
Yeah, it's been all good. We're back next Monday, and I will have played some games by then.
He says that.
Don't worry.
Odds on that
watch
50-50
more
people.
documentary and some more anime as well.
Yeah, no, that's been fantastic actually to hear your view on that, and I'm just really happy that you've enjoyed that the documentaries and the movies, and how much you've absorbed and how much you've understood, and giving really lucid views on all of that. It's fantastic. Actually, I'm really actually quite happy for that. But yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
welcome to the anime world of Studio Ghibli.
No, thanks. It's been good. No, Luke, still, I was only joking, mate. You're good, mate. Good lad. You all are. Right. Thanks for coming on, Removable.
Much appreciated. Thank you for letting me talk. I know I sometimes don't actually stop, but much appreciated regardless.
Is that Removable speaking, or is AI Avatar?
1101. I mean, perfectly fine. It's Stefan here. But no, it was good to come on, and it was good to actually have it. It was a really good topics, and you did really well, Stubbs, for the topics in the chat so we could go and follow it.
Yeah, we didn't actually borrow the topics.
Today we discussed the world.
That's what we do. We do that every single time. We discuss something that just comes up. And, that's the best thing about it. Actually, we should thank the chat, because honestly, chat, if you come on as well, you give us topics. We're not going to shy away from these topics. We'll talk about them. You know what we're like. Stubbs has gone to sleep.
Thanks everyone for coming on, and we will see you next Monday. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
All right.